History of the Nigerian Civil War, 1966 to 1970. The Nigerian Civil War, also known as the Biafran War, was a brutal conflict that lasted from July 6, 1967, to January 15, 1970. It was fought between the government of Nigeria and the secessionist state of Biafra, which declared independence from Nigeria in 1967. The war was the result of deep-rooted political, ethnic, economic, and social tensions within Nigeria, especially between the eastern region and the federal government. Background: Nigeria before the war. Colonial legacy and ethnic divisions. Nigeria, a British colony until 1960, was an artificial creation that brought together over 250 ethnic groups. The three major regions were: North, dominated by the House of Fulani, predominantly Muslim. West, dominated by the Yoruba, largely Christian and traditional religion practitioners. East, dominated by the Igbo, mostly Christian. After independence in 1960, Nigeria operated a federal system, but tensions quickly emerged over power sharing, revenue allocation, and ethnic representation. The path to war. The first coup, January 15, 1966. A group of young Igbo army officers led by Major Chukwuma Kaduna Nzeogwu launched a coup, assassinating key political leaders in the northern and western regions, including Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa and Northern Premier Ahmadu Bello. The coup was perceived by many northerners as an Igbo-led takeover. General Johnson Agi Aronsi's regime. Major General Aronsi, an Igbo, took control and attempted to centralize the government. His unification decree angered many northerners who feared domination by the Igbo elite. He was seen as protecting the coup plotters, most of whom were Igbo. The counter-coup, July 29, 1966. Northern officers, led by Lieutenant Colonel Matola Muhammad and others, staged a counter-coup. Aronsi and many Igbo officers were killed. Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon, a northerner, became head of state. Pogroms against the Igbo, 1966. Following the coups, widespread anti-Igbo riots broke out in the north. Tens of thousands of Igbos were killed, and over 1 million fled back to the eastern region. This traumatic event deepened ethnic animosity and set the stage for secession. Declaration of Biafra. Eastern region secedes. Amidst the continued killings and perceived failure of the federal government to protect Igbo lives, Lieutenant Colonel Chukwemeka Odumogu Ojukwu, the military governor of the eastern region, declared the region an independent Republic of Biafra on May 30, 1967. Ojukwu cited massacres of Igbos in the north, economic and political marginalization, failure of the federal structure to protect eastern interests, outbreak and cause of the war. Beginning of the war. The Nigerian government, under Gowon, considered secession an act of rebellion. On July 6, 1967, federal troops invaded Biafra, marking the beginning of the war. Early Biafran gains. Initially, Biafran forces advanced into the Midwest region, even threatening Lagos. However, the tide quickly turned. The federal side, with superior manpower and arms, began pushing Biafran forces back. International involvement. Nigeria received support from Britain, the USSR, and Egypt. Biafra received limited support from France, Portugal, and some African countries, as well as international sympathy. Despite this, the blockade imposed by Nigeria severely limited Biafra's access to food and medical supplies. The humanitarian crisis. Starvation as a weapon. Nigeria's strategy included a total blockade of Biafra, by land, air, and sea. This choked off food and humanitarian aid, leading to massive famine. Relief agencies, including the Red Cross and Caritas, attempted to fly in supplies, but were frequently denied access or targeted. Mass deaths. An estimated 1 to 3 million Biafrans died, mostly from starvation and malnutrition, especially children. The haunting images of starving children with swollen bellies brought global attention and sympathy, but aid efforts were largely stymied. End of the war. Biafra's collapse. By late 1969, Biafran territory had been reduced to a fraction of its original size. On January 15, 1970, General Ojukwu fled into exile in Ivory Coast. His deputy, Philip Effiong, surrender to Nigerian forces. No victor, no vanquished. General Gowon declared a policy of reconciliation and reintegration, famously stating, "No victor, no vanquished." A program was launched to reintegrate Biafrans, though in practice, many Igbos faced economic hardship and political marginalization for years. Legacy of the war. Ethnic and political aftermath. The war left deep scars in Nigerian society, particularly among the Igbos. Ethnic tensions persisted, although overt conflict was suppressed. The Nigerian military strengthened its control over national politics. Biafra in popular memory. The war and the suffering in Biafra continue to shape Igbo identity. Movements like the Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, still advocate for self-determination. The Biafran tragedy remains one of the worst humanitarian disasters of the 20th century. Conclusion. The Nigerian Civil War was not merely a military conflict, it was a national trauma rooted in the fragile union of a post-colonial state grappling with ethnic divisions and power struggles. It exposed the dangers of failed statecraft and ethnic intolerance, and it left a legacy of distrust that still lingers in Nigerian politics and society. Though the guns were silenced in 1970, the quest for justice, equity, and national unity in Nigeria remains a continuing challenge.